NASA's plans to deorbit the International Space Station ISS at the end of its operational life in 2030. It is a good overview of NASA's plans to deorbit the International Space Station ISS at the end of its operational life in 2030. Using a space tug. A space tug is a spacecraft that can dock with other spacecraft and provide propulsion. It could be used to deorbit the ISS by slowly lowering its orbit until it eventually enters the Earth's atmosphere and burns up. Using multiple reentry vehicles could be attached to the ISS and then released to deorbit individually. This would allow the ISS to be deorbited in a more controlled manner, with less risk of debris falling into populated areas. NASA is still evaluating both of these options, and it is possible that a combination of the two will be used. Also discusses some of the challenges of deorbiting the ISS. One challenge is that the ISS is a very large and massive object. It weighs over 400 tons and is about the size of a football field. This means that it will take a lot of energy to deorbit it. Another challenge is that the ISS is in a relatively low orbit. This means that it is more susceptible to atmospheric drag, which can cause its orbit to decay over time. This means that NASA will need to start planning for the deorbit process well in advance. NASA is working closely with its international partners to develop a plan for deorbiting the ISS. The goal is to deorbit the ISS safely and responsibly, minimizing the risk to people and property on Earth. My thoughts on the two ideas: using a space tug. Pros: a space tug could be used to deorbit the ISS in a more controlled manner. It could also be used to deorbit other large objects in space, such as defunct satellites. Cons: developing a space tug could be expensive and time-consuming. There is a risk of the space tug failing, which could leave the ISS stranded in orbit. Using multiple reentry vehicles. Pros: using multiple reentry vehicles would allow the ISS to be deorbited in a more controlled manner, with less risk of debris falling into populated areas. It would also be less expensive and time-consuming to develop multiple reentry vehicles than a space tug. Cons: there is a risk of one or more of the reentry vehicles failing, which could leave the ISS stranded in orbit. It would be more complex to coordinate the deorbit of multiple reentry vehicles than a single space tug. Overall, I think both ideas have their own advantages and disadvantages. It is important to carefully consider all of the factors involved before making a decision about which method to use. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.